Yo, YouTube, what's going on? It's your boy, Salvation's Elite. We are back with our video, guys. And guys, today we're ranking the top 50 players in Call of Duty history. So I've had this idea for a while, and I've been hesitant to do it, all right? Because if you guys are familiar with the Call of Duty scene, guys have their opinions, people have their own opinions, and this is bound to piss people off. I don't know if there's any way to actually do this where we don't piss somebody off or piss off a lot of people. And so that's why I was a little bit hesitant to do it, but I thought it's going to be a fun conversation. So I'm going to treat this more like a podcast where I'm just kind of sitting here talking about a few things, maybe going through them. We obviously can't spend that much time on any individual player, else we'll be here forever. We got 50 guys we're going through today, the top 50 heading into the Call of Duty League. We still have like a month or like 5 weeks until the Call of Duty League kicks off. And so I thought this would be a really cool time to rank the top 50 players all time. And considering that a majority of these top 50 are still playing today, that we can see how it changes in the next year or two or three to come. And so I'm excited. I hope you guys are as well. Without further ado, with this long intro, let's get right into it. Let's go. All right. If you guys have watched some of the other videos, we're back in the dreaded Photoshop files, and we got this grid here of the top 50 players of all time. I thought it turned out pretty decent, actually. Like, we got the top 8 are kind of bigger, and then we got the rest of the other 46.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
A little bit smaller boxes, and everybody gets their own individual box. So of course, before we even get into the video, I have to clarify how I'm ranking these guys. So I was kind of just trying to debate how I want to do this. I wanted to go opinion subjectively off talent or off wins, just off wins and success. But I think it has to be a combination of the two in some way or another to have any type of real accurate list. I would say I'm weighting winning and success more than individual talent. But I mean, at the end of the day, it takes individual talent to win as a squad. In my mind, this list is pretty solid. Of course, you're always going to be able to mix around some of the guys in there within 5 or 6 spots of each other. But overall, ebb and flow of this list, I'm pretty excited to talk about it. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's go. So now that you guys have already skipped past this whole thing because I've been introing for too long, let's get right into it. Our 50th player, the first player we are ranking today, is Gunjar. So Gunjar is the 50th player on this list. He just barely made the cut. Again, there were so many good players going through this. I was like, man, I had to cut so many great players from the top 50. It's crazy how many good Call of Duty players there have been and there are moving forward. And so I'm excited to see where everybody ends up at the future here. But Gunjar is our 50th. He got cut from EG last year. And we'll see if he ends up, rebounding again in his COD career. But he's had such a great long career in the esport. I mean, he was playing all the way back in Modern Warfare 3. He really is one of the OGs. He's won a few tournaments in his career and is just deserving of a top 50 spot. At 49, we got our first European of the list. Jerd is here, the Irishman himself. I know some of you guys out there probably would think he might be higher on the list. But like I'm saying, dude, there were so many good players to go through, and that's kind of where Jerd ended up. Man, he's, again, a fantastic player, one of the best European players of all time. I hope he can win even more tournaments moving forward in his career. He's got a lot in front of him still. But, yeah, Jerd ends up at 49. Next up, we actually have the first COD champion of the list, Assault, winning with EG back in World War II. And, again, another guy who has a lot of COD in front of him. He's a young dude, still has so much time to move up this list. I mean, just winning COD champs alone put him in the top 30 earners of all time. But at the end of the day, Assault, because he's a COD champion, is in the top 50 and ends up at 48. The next guy, man, Rip Fizzerp. Fizzerp is 47. One of the most entertaining, interesting, cool guys in the scene. Unfortunately, he passed too early, but man, it cements him inside the top 50. Fizzerp's a fantastic player, and I couldn't make a top 50 list without including him here, so he's at 47. At 46 is another guy who's been playing for a long time. That is Ricky, a guy who's been in the scene since Modern Warfare 3. He's been through and through the Call of Duty scene as a coach, as a player. He's won 3 tournaments in his career as well, and he's just been all around the scene really successful. Tons of top 3s, top 2s as well. There was just no way I could make a top 50 list and not include Ricky. The next guy is a guy who Ricky played a lot against and even with a few times is Sharp. He's right there with Ricky as a guy who's, one of the well-known names in the history of competitive COD. I don't know. I just don't think you can tell the story of competitive COD without him. And with his handful of tournament wins, gets him inside the top 50 as well. 45th for Sharp. So the last 3 guys plus this one, Theory, have all won 3 tournaments, and so I thought it was fair to kind of put them all together here in a row And I mean, they all have played a similar role in Call of Duty and how they've played, and they've had very similar career arcs in a lot of ways. But Theory is at 44th. He stuck around. He was very successful with TK in World War II at the beginning before he got dropped, and overall was in the scene for a long time, which is why Theory ends up at 44, pretty higher up, a little bit higher up in the earnings as well because of a little bit more later success. And overall, Theory's had a good career, which I think is deserving of a top 50 spot. Oh baby, this one could be potentially controversial depending on where you stand on this one. Doug Censor Martin at 43. Obviously, he hadn't won since Advanced Warfare with FaZe, but at the end of the day, he gave it a go in Black Ops 3. He tried to go for it in World War II. So he gave an effort to make it happen again. Censor's won 4 tournaments in his career, and overall, he's left a massive impact in the Call of Duty scene. He was a solid player when he was around, putting him at 43. At 42, we got our first Englishman. It's Zero on the list here at 42. One of the best UK players of all time, if not the best, depending on how you look at it. You know, I mean, he's only won 1 tournament, but they've come so close so many times. And as a talent, he's up there with the best of them, which is why he definitely deserves to be inside the top 50. So he ends up at 42. Speaking of someone who's been around the block, and another UK face is Tommy at 41. He's been around forever, literally playing competitively since like the COD 4 days. He's been doing it for a long time, doing it extremely well, and he's still a sub for Dallas Empire this many years later. He's a beast, definitely a fantastic player, top 50 all time for sure. 41st on this list. Okay, again, with the UK guys, they're so tough to rank because talent-wise, they seem to be really good individually. For whatever reason, they haven't been able to win the tournaments that other teams have been able to and other players have. It's a tough balance there where it's like, I don't want to underrank them, but I don't want to overrank them just because they're UK. So I'm trying to do my best here. We're not going to please everybody, so I know you guys are probably already roasting us, and we're only like, 9 or 10 in. So at 40, we got Accuracy. Okay, so Accuracy, of course, playing World War II, kind of broke out as a fantastic player during that game, but he's been in the scene for a while now. You know, World War II was massive for his career and setting it up for the future. Now he's on the Subliners, so we can see what they can do this year. But overall, really good career so far. 40 feels about right for him. Then we got Silly, all right, a COD champion in World War II with EG. The championship kind of spurs him up the list a little bit more, plus another tournament win. Having a lot of success with the United and the squad as well. So Silly, top 40, 39th for him. So at 38 is another legend of the scene. It's Dito. Like, he was so good back in the day on Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 2, and even Ghosts. And he even stretched out his career up into like World War II. So Dito is a fantastic player. Really good for a long time. Respect the dude. 38 for him. At 37, we got Priestahh. I mean, last year was a massive year for Priestahh in his career. 100T taking home 2 championships for him. He really would have probably struggled to make the top 50 up until last year, but obviously now you got to put him there with 3 wins and a dominant year for Priestahh, one of the best players in the game, 100% deserving of a top 40 spot, and he ends up at 37th. At 36 is another guy who has been around for a long time. That is Saints, and he's even on a Call of Duty League roster heading into this year. He's on Gorillas with Aches, and man, Saints has won a lot of tournaments. He's been around forever. He's definitely left an impact on the scene. He's been a great player for a long time. Definitely couldn't make a top 50 list without him here. So he ends up at 36. So next up is a 6-time champion. It's Proofy, the dude, X Games gold medalist, and a really great player, man. He's been a legend in the COD scene. He obviously was at his best in some of the older CODs, Black Ops 2, Ghosts. At the end of the day, Proofy's a really good player. Man, he had to be up here somewhere, and 35th was about where he fit in. At 34, we got Classic. Another 5-time champion. He's been on a lot of really successful teams in his career, but he's won events on a multitude of games, and he's just been a really good player the past like 3 or 4 years. And obviously people wanted to hate him last year after the whole LG whatever thing, but at the end of the day, he's been a really good player, and you have to put him in the top 50. He ended up at 34 on this list. So the next 2 might be controversial. I'm not sure how you guys are going to feel about this one. At 33 is Abizi. Okay, so again, man, these guys are rookies, but they won the playoffs and they won COD champs in the same year, and they were so dominant. It feels impossible for you to not put them inside the top 50, and I bet some people might put them even higher than this, and maybe some people wouldn't have them in the top 40. But for me, after thinking a lot about it, I'm like, man, you got to have Abizi and you've got to have Simp in the top at least like 35, after winning a champs and a playoffs like they did. Like, there's a world where they never move up any higher than this in their careers. I'm expecting them to be pretty successful again this year and in the future. They're really, 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 really good players, man. And I cannot wait to see what else they do. But for now, they're at 33 and 32. So we follow up Simp and Abizi with Nameless at 31. So, I mean, Nameless has won 6 events in his career. And when he was in his prime, he was really, really, really good. And yeah, so he finishes at 31. At 30 is Crowder. I mean, as a player, then as a coach, he's been really, really successful. We are just ranking players, obviously. So in his career, he won 3 events. He won a CoD Champs and AW with Denial. You know, his career wasn't insane by any means, but he had a really, really solid career. And when he won a CoD Champs like that, plus a few other events through a long-standing period of a career where you've had a lot of success, you're going to end up in the top 30, and that's where he is at 30. Speaking of CoD champions, we got Miracles at 29, winning with Farico Impact in Black Ops 2. Man, he was such an icon of the scene early on in competitive CoD. It's a shame that he wasn't able to keep it up longer term, but at the end of the day, I think he's deserving of a top 30 spot, and so we put him at 29. At 28, we got Priestahh. Oh, baby, Priestahh. Again, United this year really helped solidify his place in Call of Duty history, I guess you could say. The CoD Championship plus the playoff win was exactly what he needed and what the rest of the United roster needed. You know, those were his second and third event wins. And, you know, because he already had that one in IW with United, kind of puts him just slightly ahead of like Simp and Abizi and whatnot. And so that's why he's at 28. And his boy, Arcides, is at 27. They're kind of in the same boat. It's hard to place either of them too much greater than the other because of where they are in their careers right now. And I'm sure franchising's definitely going to affect how that plays out. But at the end of the day, they're right neck and neck with each other, 28 and 27, Priestahh and Arcides. At 26, another Farico Impact legend. We got KiLLa here, 5 tournament wins in his career, plus a CoD championship. He was obviously going to be on the list at some point. I can see an argument where he could be higher up. I can see an argument where he'd be lower based on how much you're valuing talent versus, you know, championships or success. But at the end of the day, I slot him in at 26. So at 25, we've got Tej at just slightly above KiLLa. I know he doesn't have the championship, but at the end of the day, you know, there's an argument where COD's just more competitive in the last few years than it was back during Black Ops 2 or you know, MW3, or even maybe you could say Ghost potentially. And that's why I think the 5 wins that TJ has are just a little bit more valuable than the 5 wins that KiLLa had at the end of the day. You know, then of course there's the people who try to degrade Farico Impact's dominance because they said CoD Champs was at the beginning of the year. If it was at the end of the year, Complexity would have won, yada yada. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a legitimate argument, but at the end of the day, I'm slotting Tej just slightly ahead of KiLLa. You know, those few extra tournament wins that he had with Rise and how he played during World War II were really, really nice. And overall, I think Tej is a really deserving player to be inside the top 25. But 24 is another one of the younger guys in the scene, but he already has 5 wins, and that's Kenny, man. Dominant in COD World War II, solid in Black Ops 4, won multiple tournaments in both the games, and finished second at COD Champs in World War II, second at COD Champs in Black Ops 4. He's made a lot of cash for himself these past 2 years. Kenny's a fantastic player, and he's so close to moving even higher up on this list if he was able to get like a major championship win. Like, for example, like if he was able to win like COD Champs this year, he would fly up the rankings. But for now, 24th feels about right. At 23, we got another guy that if he won like COD Champs this year, he would fly up the leaderboards. That's Gunless. Man, he has been so dominant in his career. He only has 5 wins for how dominant he's been. But when he is on, he is on. You know, when he's at his best, he's probably the best player in the league. And I mean, it just shows in the sheer amount of wins he's had in the past few years, plus the sheer amount of MVPs he's had in the past few years. And so with that said, I think 23 makes a lot of sense for him. So at 22, we got Rambo. Rambo at 22. Of course, he kind of dipped out of the scene a while ago, but early on in COD, he was a legend, one of the best players of all time back then, seen as one of the GOATs back then. And man, he's just good at everything he touches, and COD was definitely one of those things. He won like 8 championships in his career, and even though he didn't actually win a ring, he won a lot of tournaments, and I think he's deservingly inside the top 25, sitting at 22. So at 21, we got Looney. I could totally see an argument where you could say Gunless or Rambo should be ahead of Looney, but Looney has 6 wins. The amount of top 2s and 3s he's had in his career, dating back to even like Modern Warfare 3, is pretty insane, which is why I'd put Looney just slightly ahead, even though Gunless and like, you know, on the teams that they were on together, Gunless was probably the best player. At the end of the day, I think Looney's like long-term success in the scene is really showing, and so that's why I have him at 21. Oh, baby. So you're now inside the top 20 finally. If you guys have stuck with us this long, we're finally inside the top 20. Hello to everybody who skipped through the last 30 people to get to right here. Welcome. Welcome to the video. But we are finally inside the top 20. And at 20, we got the Italian stallion Zuma right here. He has 6 wins in his career. He's never gotten the big one. It's escaped him a handful of times. But at the end of the day, I think he's just been so good in so many games. One of the top players during World War II. Fantastic in AEW as well. And overall, for how long he's been in the scene, for how good he's been in the scene the past handful of years, I think he's very deserving of a top 20 spot all time. Imagine the wonders that some rings could do for Zuma's career. That would be some wild stuff. But Zuma sitting at 20 right now. Next up, we got the GOAT, BigT. I know some of you BigT fanboys are going to be probably pissed that he's not higher on the list, potentially, but man, he retired so early in the history of Call of Duty. You know, he retired during COD Ghosts. Man, like it would have been great to see him in more Call of Duty games. But at the end of the day, he won 9 tournaments, and not very many people have done that in their career. He was so good when he was playing, and you have to put the respect on his name if you watch BigT back then, because he was just that good. He's definitely a top 20 player all time. 19th for BigT. So I'll be interested to see how you guys react to this, considering the whole Nadeshot and BigT thing. But at 18, I have Nadeshot. All right, so Nadeshot did win one less tournament than BigT in his career, but Nade kind of, you know, he went on through Advanced Warfare. He won the X Games and Ghosts. I feel like he won just a few bigger tournaments than BigT did as a whole, which is why I'm putting him just slightly ahead of BigT at the end of the day. They're both fantastic players, and they were really, really fun to watch. But when it comes to like the accomplishments that Nadeshot had in his career, maybe I'm biased because of the legacy he left behind and the impact that he's made on competitive Call of Duty as an esport. But at the end of the day, I'm going to stick with him in the top 20. I'm going to stick with him at 18. Nadeshot, number 18. So at 17, we got Parasite, the Farico monster. Man, he's won a lot of tournaments in his career dating back all the way to Black Ops 2 and before. He's in the elite club of 9 or more wins, and of course one of them coming at COD Champs in Black Ops 2. And so when you got 9 wins and you've got a ring and you're still playing competitive Call of Duty today, like at that point you've got to be inside the top 17, right? And so Parasite sitting at 17. That brief time that they split apart where Attached won that COD Champs is kind of the difference for why they're not right next to each other. That ring puts him just slightly ahead at 16. I think that makes a lot of sense for where he's sitting. So at 16, we got another man. He's slacked. Seen a lot of success through his career on a lot of different games. Every single year, he seems to pull out some win somewhere, somehow. He's literally won a tournament on every single game since Advanced Warfare. Not very many guys can say that. He might, actually, I don't even know the stat. He might be the only one to be able to say that. At the end of the day, Slack is an incredible player, and he's seen a lot of success in his career, deservingly top 20. And, you know, I can see an argument where he could even be higher. At 15, we got Attach. And kind of what separates him from his duo Zuma, who's sitting at 20, is the brief time that they were apart during AW. Attach stole a COD championship with Denial. Top 20 in wins. He's top 20 in money earned. He's won a ring. Attach definitely should be in the top 15. 15 feels really, really right for Attach. So at 14, we got the first player who actually has double-digit wins in his career, and that is Merc. One of the best casters for the Call of Duty League last year. Fantastic duo with him and Maven, but in his previous lifetime, he was a fantastic Call of Duty player. He won 12 tournaments. He's 8th all-time in wins. You know, a part of one of the best runs of all time during Modern Warfare 3, and of course, winning tournaments in Ghosts and Black Ops 2. Merc is a fantastic player, one of the legends of the Call of Duty scene. Top 14 for my man's Merc. So at 13, we got Octane. So this could be a little controversial. I could see an argument for why he should be a little bit farther down the list. Again, I think it's another situation where because of talent, pure talent the past 2 years, you could argue Octane is higher because of how actually good he is. And so I have him at 13 because of his mix of how many wins he's had in his career, and of course the sheer amount of talent that he's shown he has during World War II, Black Ops 4, and heading into this game as well. Octane's an incredible player, and I'm totally fine if people move him down this list or if they move him up this list. 13 feels right to me, and that's where we're going to stick with. So our next COD champion here at 12 is John. Obviously, during Black Ops 3, winning this with Envy, John was so good for such a long time. He has 8 wins in his career, plus a COD championship. But because he was just so good for so long, you got to have him inside the top 12. and with the COD championship and everything else, and how that went down for Envy and how good they were during that game. And of course, IW as well. You know, you got to give it to him for how good he's been for a long stretch of time. It sucks that kind of where he ended up right now with the whole franchising, how it went down for him with rosters. But at the end of the day, John is at 12. At 11 is the last guy who hasn't won a championship, and that is Enable. Enable has been on so many good teams, so many good franchises, so many good situations in his career, and he's just won a lot of tournaments. At the end of the day, he's top 10 in wins. He's top 10 in money earned. It feels horribly wrong if you wouldn't have Enable inside the top 15. 11 is a really, really good spot for him. He's killing it. 11th for Enable. Oh, baby. The top 10. Here we go. At number 10, we got Slasher, one of the most talented players in COD history. He is so, so, so good. You can't emphasize how good these top 10 players have been in their careers. And Slasher has had so much prolonged success, so many wins, and a COD championship. And like how it went down for him and how dominant he has been for his teams. That's why I kind of have him edging out some of these other guys we've been talking about. And yeah, so that's why he's right there inside the top 10 at 10th, Slasher. At number 9, we got one of the legends, TP. I mean, you definitely cannot talk about Call of Duty history without talking about TP, the Complexity legend. Won so many tournaments in that stretch with Complexity during the end of Black Ops 2 to throughout all of Ghosts. I mean, he's had 16 tournament wins in his career. Of course, most of those were coming during that time in Black Ops 2 and Ghosts, but he stuck around for a while, and he was still a really solid player after Ghosts before transitioning to becoming a coach. And again, man, you can't have a top 10 list without TP in it. Number 9 for TP. So at number 8, you got JKap. He's got 10 wins in his career, the first of the 2-time COD champions on this list. I mean, JKap has been such a key piece to so many great teams, and man, you can't tell the story of COD without JKap. And with that said, at 7, his teammate, Apathy, for many of these events. Apathy at number 7. Why I have Apathy just slightly higher than JKap, even though JKap has more wins, is because of how dominant Apathy was on those teams they were on together and how Apathy won those rings. I mean, Apathy had to play lights out at COD Champs during World War II to be able to win that ring, and he played lights out during Black Ops 3 to win that ring. And then, of course, during IW, Apathy was so good as well. And yeah, that's why I think Apathy is a deserving number 7. At 6, we got the arch nemesis of many people out here. We got Aches at number 6. Again, another 2-time champion. I don't know what else you gotta say besides he's just a straight up legend. At 5, we got Clay. I mean, this championship was, of course, massive for his career in Black Ops 4. It catapulted him above Aches, catapulted him into the top 5. Clay now has 15 wins in his career, 2 COD championships, a CWL playoff during Black Ops 4, the dominant performances early on in his career during Black Ops 2 and Ghosts, and even Advanced Warfare, winning into Denial. I mean, the fact that he was on that Complexity roster during Black Ops 2, they drop him. He goes on to win tournaments still, win 2 COD championships after the Complexity thing is insane. I mean, and man, 5th is just so right for Clay. At 4th, we got Formal. All right. So I think you guys can probably have an idea of where these top 4 are going here. Then we got Scump at 3. We got Karma at 2. And Crimsix at 1. A lot of people have a lot of different opinions of how potentially this could sort out, but in my mind, it's pretty clear that Crimsix should be the GOAT. Crim has 32 wins in his career. Scump has 27. Karma has 24. Formal has 21. When you look at the full scope of all their careers, you know, Crim, Karma, Scump, and Formal, they just outclass everyone else. They're dominant as a team of 4 throughout Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, and IW. Will probably never be matched again in competitive COD, as we talked about in one of our most recent videos in our ranking legendary teams videos. And then as individuals, I mean, Crimsix and Karma's runs with Complexity, Scump's run with OpTic, Formal's run with OpTic, and how we enter the scene as a Halo player. I mean, it's hard to match their dominance. I don't really think there's an argument other than these guys are the top 4 players, and I think it's very decisive that Crimsix is the best player of all time with the amount of wins that he currently has. So obviously a lot can change, man, heading into the Call of Duty League and how this could play out in the years to come. I'm hoping to look back at this list or this video in a few years and really compare and contrast and see how things have changed and see what guys have moved into the top 10 or 20 or 30 and what guys may have dropped out. So if you guys enjoyed the video, like, comment, favorite, subscribe. I really do appreciate you guys' support, man, because I'm trying to do this full time and I cannot do that without you guys. So I really truly do appreciate that. But as always, guys, I'm your boy Elite, and we'll see you next time. I'm out.